What's up? What's up? This is the last of. It's going to be the last of the HBCU football previews. We're already done the SWAC, the MEAC, CLAA, and the SEAC or SAC, depending on where you're from. But now we're going to preview the HBCU schools who are in non-HBCU athletic conferences. My beloved North Carolina A&T Aggies in the Big South. And then the which they'll be moving to the CAA next year, the Colonial Athletic Conference, to join Hampton. And also, Tennessee State University is in the sinking ship that is the Ohio Valley Conference. That's about to make some major realignment moves as well. So buckle up. Enjoy this last bit of preview for HBCU related athletics. It'll be a good one. We'll get to tonight's edition of the Klown podcast. I'm Scott Burks. Please check me on my blog, www.theklowntimes.net. You see it right here. More about this in a minute. You can also find me on Facebook as well. So whether your smartphone, laptop, desktop, wherever you are, wherever it may be, you'll find me there as well. I'm ratcheting up the we're not at the NFL yet, but I'm ratcheting up the NFL petty on my Facebook page. Getting some feedback right now, and some little bit NBA too, but mostly NFL. So you can almost guess which teams I'm pettying about, but if you know me pretty well. But anyway, by the way, friends will let friends be Cowboys fans. But anyway, you can check me out there as well. Also, please do like, comment, share, and subscribe. Pick up some few subscribers this week, so please continue to show the love. But in addition of subscribers, I should say, feel free to comment and share and like. Or if you don't like what I said, say something. Hey, it's going to help. It's going to help the algorithm. Excuse me. So hey, if you want to be petty, if something you don't agree, especially HBCU fans out there, I know many of you out there, you show me the most love anyway. But feel free to comment, even if it's something that you that myself or my guests or him in the morning. You know who he is by now. If you disagree with any of us, then feel free to say that as well. And speaking of that, you can find the merch at, please, cafepress.com, search for the Klown Time Sports. You'll find the link in the description once I get this uploaded to YouTube, so you'll find me there as well. Speaking of HBCUs, we are wrapping up this round of HBCU previews. We've already done the SWAC. We've already done the MEAC. We've done the CLAA and the SIAC or SEAC, wherever you, depending on where you're from. Now we're going to touch upon the three schools, the three HBCUs that are not in HBCU-related conferences. It's probably going to be a quick podcast, which I'll explain in a moment. But to help me break that down, you know who this brother is to my right. The Yard/HBCU Sports, raps about all things HBCU Sports. It's what Sleazy Radio every Tuesday night on Facebook Live and YouTube. And last but not least, check out his great work on herosports.com, writes about all things FCS athletics as they pertain to HBCU sports. The man, the legend, you're going to be seeing a lot of him around. You see him a lot before, you're going to see a lot of him, especially we talked about all things HBCU sports related. Dwayne Nash is back in the house. How you doing, brother?
Man, Scott, I am doing wonderful. How about yourself?
I am doing all right. Just finished taking the dog out for a walk. I'm just trying to scratch my back with this chair because I'm not flexible anymore to put my arm around my back and scratch it for me. So anyway, as I mentioned earlier, folks, we've done the previous HBCU conferences as far as the media days pertaining to lead up to this football season. But now, we're going to touch those three schools mentioned before. North Carolina A&T, our beloved North Carolina A&T, Hampton, and Tennessee State University, all who are in the Big South, the Colonial Athletics Association, I think that's what CAA stands for, and the Ohio Valley Conference, respectively. So, I'm going to start off like this. You can break it down as any way you want, brother.
All right.
Of the three schools I mentioned in the three respective conferences, which one of these schools had the best chance to be the most competitive in their respective conference?
to be realistic, Scott, we got to go. Even if you want to play the numbers game, it's going to be A&T.
Okay.
You know, there are only what 6 teams in that conference. No, I'm sorry. Tennessee State also has 6 teams in their conference. So, 6 or 7, I can't remember. There's been so much in terms of movement going on with actually both the OVC and the Big South. No, I'm sorry. Both conferences have 7 programs.
Okay.
Both conferences have 7 programs. But even outside of sheer numbers, the level of competition that's in the respective conferences, I'm going to lead towards the Aggies. And oddly enough, the Aggies were picked to finish first within the Big South this upcoming season. And I don't necessarily see that prediction to be that far off, even though there is a school in mind that I think would give them an issue. And sadly, well, oddly enough, they play that team on a festive occasion, to say the least.
Oh,
yeah. Yeah.
Do you want to? Should it be a secret? It's like the Cleveland keeping both Coast and Best to a homecoming.
It is.
Okay.
What
would that team be, sir?
That team would be Campbell. So, okay, since we're going to go ahead and thrust into
the Fighting Camels. All right.
Yeah, if we're going to go ahead and jump right into the Big South now, I was going to save that for last because I thought that was going to be the meat of it. But, hey, what's wrong with starting with the meat first?
There you go. Right. Get to the bones last. Throw the bones away.
You said that, not me. You said that.
Unless it's a chicken wing. Unless it's a chicken wing, you make sure all the meat is off. Even if you have to take a little grizzle, make sure all the meat is off of the bone. I do not understand these bougie-ass Negroes leaving meat on the bone on a chicken wing. That's just my pet peeve. I'm sorry. I had to. That triggered up bad memories of seeing folk who trying to be hoity-toity in public, eating chicken, first of all, with a knife and fork instead of with their hands like it's meant to be, and leaving chicken on the bone. You don't do that, folks. The meat is on the bone for a reason, to be eaten. Period, end of discussion. If I see another hoity-toity person, one very quick story.
Okay.
One very quick story, then we'll get back. I promise you I'll get back to you. But it triggered me. It triggered me. There's a sister who my brother's dating right now, who's an HBCU graduate, like we are, and like my brother is, okay? We had a barbecue restaurant. This is last Thanksgiving. We had a barbecue restaurant in Winston-Salem, right? Wings were slamming, right? Barbecue wings were slamming. She turned, like she said something about, like someone said something about to my brother about not leaving meat on the bone. Like my wife said that, she's a little bit bougie as well. So he's like, and I'm looking at her like, and too. But you know what his girlfriend did? He said, Scott, I'm sorry, don't judge me. She shows me her plate, half the meat still on bones. I'm like, sister, she's from Memphis, Tennessee, first of all. She's from Memphis, Soul City, Chocolate City, went to an HBCU, and leaving meat on the bone. I've never been so disappointed in my life. Never been so disappointed in my life. Why? We're not impressing anyone. We're trying to eat our damn food. No one else is paying our bills. We paying our own bills. We're setting our own careers. We're grown as adults. We can do whatever the hell we want when it comes to food. Next time, and you know what? Next time I see somebody eating the chicken wing and leaving stuff on it, meat on the bone, I'm gonna slap that out of his hand. I'm gonna slap it out of his hand and tell him to pick that up and finish the meat off the bone. I'm telling you, I cannot stand it when people leave meat on the bone. Don't do that again. Please don't. If you're around me, don't do that again. No. The only person I let get away with that is my wife because, I'm married to her. I can't really do anything. But anybody else, my son, he's eating the meat off the bone. Okay? There's no need to be hoity-toity. There's no need to be bougie. It's chicken.
It's chicken.
It's chicken, folks.
You beat me to it, bro.
It's chicken.
Yeah.
All right?
Yeah.
All right.
Now, they know better than to do that at a tailgate. They know better.
Man, I can see them now stopping the meat up and checking the chicken out the hand. Like, you don't deserve that chicken. Anyway, I'm sorry, I got triggered, but go ahead. Let's just
That's all right, bro.
talk
That's
about
all
it.
right,
Talk about
man.
the version. But anyway, sorry about
But you know, the Aggies returned this year. You know, they finished the season 5-6 last year.
that.
Dealt with a ton of injuries. They're getting a bunch of those guys back that were injured or didn't get an opportunity to play throughout the entire season. I mean, of course, the biggest loss that everyone wants to talk about on the offensive side of the ball is Jermaine Martin. But they're bringing back what's his name? I'm looking at it. Brayshaw Tootin, running back. Actually, it's a sophomore who got some run. Excuse me. Last year while Jermaine was out, but they're also bringing in a big back. They're actually describing his build, his makeup to be very similar to one Derrick Henry. He's about 6'3", 6'4", about 220. Yeah, right.
Good boy.
So it's going to be very interesting to see if this guy actually gets any run during this season. I expect him to, but of course they've been talking about Tootin during the off season a lot. But this preseason, you know, of course, with the preseason superlatives, there were 8 Aggies that made it to the preseason all-conference team, including defensive stalwarts Jermaine McDaniel, the defensive lineman, and of course the linebacker Jacobs. What's Jacobs? Jacob Roberts. I'm sorry. So they're looking, of course, to return that stout defense. It's going to be rather interesting to see how this offense looks. They're still looking to find their QB. But Jamison Warren, all-conference wideout, along with Nicholas Dobson, the all-conference tight end, will look to make that offense go, like I said, with that running back core that they have. The only team, like I was alluding to earlier, that I see, even though Gardner-Webb beat them last year, and I know that Gardner-Webb's going to be competitive, Charleston Southern's going to be competitive, but the team that I'm most afraid of, that I'm most concerned about, of course, is Campbell, who had the #1 recruiting class in FCS football this past offseason.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, like
higher
I said,
than Jackson State?
Yeah, they higher than Jackson State.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
And you know, like I said before, they're going to play against A&T during a festive game, aka homecoming, aka Jiho. And you know, you normally get cupcakes during homecoming. Yeah, I truly believe the Big South title will be on the line at homecoming this year, and it doesn't help that the defensive player of the year, with the preseason defensive player of the year, what's his name? Brevin Allen, the defensive lineman for Campbell, is from Greensboro.
Oh.
So yeah, the prodigal son will be returning home for Jiho, playing against, you know, his hometown squad, looking to ruin their day and potentially their chances of winning the conference title. But you know, it's going to be very interesting to see exactly how A&T looks this year. You know, one of the things that's been an issue with this program for some time, and I hope they clean it up this year. Oh man, is the fact that they just, for whatever reason, love to get a bunch of personal fouls. They just can't seem to keep the state discipline. Yeah, they're extremely undisciplined, and it's been a problem for years. So that's one of the things I'm most definitely going to keep an eye out on, of course, along with injury, and to see if any of the guys who played last season actually improve and get a little bit better in this final season within the Big South. But yeah, they most definitely, well, not most definitely, but they still have HBCU teams on their schedule. They start the year out at the Dukes Mayo Classic, aka the Aggie Eagle Classic, against North Carolina Central, in Charleston, in Charlotte, North Carolina. And then, of course, they also have South Carolina State and Norfolk State both at the crib this year, so they will get a little HBCU MEAC flavor along with their Big South cohorts this upcoming year.
Yeah. So that's 6'4" brothers, 240-pounder. You mentioned you compared it to Derrick Henry in terms of size. Is he a running back as well? I missed that.
Yeah, he's a running back.
Nice. Nice.
Yeah.
Now, what I think, man, and we won't belabor the point on this, is it just we're not going to try not to talk about other squads, not HBCU squads, is that when the A&T moves to the CAA next year, that they're gonna they're gonna more likely lose our rivalry with Campbell, right?
No,
Campbell's gonna move with them, or
Campbell's moving over to the CAA as well.
Oh,
It was
nice.
announced about a month ago that they're moving over to the CAA.
Oh, that's awesome.
It was interesting. You know, there was a whole lot of conversation on who's going to be the next team to move. Howard was on deck but chose to stay within the MEAC, left the door wide open for Campbell to move over.
Cool. So that's cool. So basically, a competitive Campbell team that's going to give him some fits. And don't think that Campbell's thinking that at feel a certain kind of way. You schedule us for homecoming, bro?
Yeah.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh,
okay.
It won't just be Campbell that'll be within the conference with them. You know, of course, Hampton's already there.
Right.
They have Elon that's within the conference. So they have a rather deep Southern division that they're going to end up competing in with a lot of teams that are going to be close by, well, within close proximity. William and Mary. Who else football wise is close to them? But yeah, they're most definitely going to have a lot of programs that they've most definitely have played within recent seasons that they're going to compete against in the CAA.
That's awesome. And speaking of which, we're already talking about right now, the CAA in Hampton. So you mentioned A&T is going to be the most successful of the three schools in their respective conferences. Like, what's going on with Hampton as far as what's got going on in the CAA right now? I know they switched conferences, like they changed conferences. So Michael Jackson changed his noses, right?
Wow. Again, you said that, not me. But Scott, you're not far off. This is most definitely their third conference.
Yeah.
In what, 4 or 5 years? So yeah, they most definitely have been doing a lot of jumping around like House
A&T
of Pain.
too, to be honest with you. Yeah.
Well, yeah, A&T as well. But just attempting to find that stability, and they truly believe. Well, this is a move that Hampton has been wanting to make ever since they originally left the CIAA. So now they get to their dream conference. Now that they're there, I'm intrigued to see exactly how they're going to compete. The Pirates were picked to finish 13th out of 13 teams in the CAA. Translation, last place.
Wow. Dead effing last.
Yeah, so they're gonna have a tough haul this first year coming into the conference. They really only had one player make the preseason all conference team, and that's linebacker Keyshawn Moore, who is also looking to potentially make a move to the WWE if his football days don't necessarily pan out.
Wow. That's interesting.
Yeah, I forget the name of the program. It's called Next in Line. The WWE has a program called Next in Line. Ironically enough, the initials are what, Scott? NIL. So Keyshawn has that.
Clever.
Exactly, right? So he has that NIL contract with the WWE. If you go to his Twitter and his Instagram, he most definitely shows his times working out. And that's a guy I would love to speak to in the near future about his future, be it on the gridiron or within the squared circle. So I'm intrigued to see exactly what direction it goes into. But outside of Moore, of course, Hampton has wide receiver Jadakiss Bonds, and they have
Jadakiss is his first name.
His first name is Jadakiss, yes, but with one S, yes, sir.
Come on, Mom. Love the rapper, but unless you're going to be a rapper, unless you're going to join the Locks any type of way in terms of sponsorship, come on. But go ahead. That's another podcast. Go ahead.
But yes, wide receiver Jadakiss Bonds, who's a preseason hopeful for the Black College Football Player of the Year award. And then you also have the Big South Offensive Rookie of the Year. Running back Elijah Burr is coming over, to the CAA for Hampton as well. So it's going to be very interesting to see exactly what Hampton looks like this year. Of course, They had the Battle of the Bay against Norfolk State this year, as well as their Battle of the Real HU. Both games happening at the crib.
Mm-hmm.
But as it pertains to conference play, September 24th, they get that welcome into the CAA, where they play the team that's picked to finish second in that conference, Delaware.
Mm.
Yeah, and
Remember
they travel to
Delaware
Delaware.
State matchups. Yeah, I'm glad they still play each other too.
Yeah, no, I'm talking about Hampton.
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm saying.
Oh yeah,
makes me think of Delaware and the Delaware State. Right? I'm sorry.
oh, yes. Matter of fact, yeah, now that you bring that up, Hampton will be the second HBCU that Delaware plays this upcoming year.
Okay, interesting. Yeah. So that's the day after my birthday. That's sweet. Wait a minute. That's a homecoming game?
No.
Okay, no. That's the first. Oh yeah, you said that's the first home game. I'm sorry.
No, that's the first CAA game for Hampton against Delaware.
Gotcha. Okay, cool. Interesting. It says, "Welcome to the CAA, folks."
Yeah.
Wow.
With a juggernaut. Yeah, that's how you get welcome to the conference. Yeah.
Okay. And since we're still on the subject of CAA, conference realignment is something, as I told you, man. I tell folks, it's not just the effect of the Power Five on the FBS league. It's a huge trickle down effect. You got, like we mentioned in the last podcast, we previewed the MEAC. You got some people from some schools from the FCS moving up to the Group of Five in the Sun Belt, which is a very competitive conference in the FBS. You know what I'm saying? So it's pretty interesting to see how all this is working. But just thinking about, I mentioned earlier, like think about how deep the CAA will be. What, next season, 2023?
Yeah.
I mean, you have like, and to have it all localized, almost localized. In the sense that you have a lot of North Carolina schools coupled with some Virginia schools. That should cut down on costs for A&T in terms of travel, and Hampton as well.
Oh, most definitely. The way they have it slated is that the conference will move into the conference is already in divisions.
Right.
So they'll have their divisional matchups, which I think it's going to be 6 games.
Mm-hmm.
And then they'll have those 2 interdivisional matchups against the North. So that means, excuse me, sir.
Sure.
So that means they'll travel to one Northern team every year, and then they'll play another Northern team at home every year. So it most definitely will reduce the amount of travel. Something that has most definitely have been an issue in past years.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas, when you're talking about the MEAC, A&T would have to travel to at least 2 to 3 programs in the North. 3 to 4 programs in the North every other year, where in the CAA they'll be traveling to one North every year. That's technically one north of Richmond.
Wow. So basically, it's going north of Richmond. Delaware is Monmouth in the CAA. I don't have it in front of me. I probably should pull it up.
Neither do I, and I know the Bammers out there who are FCS stalwarts are killing me right now. D Nash, you're supposed to know this.
Yeah.
With all this movement going on, I'm gonna go ahead and tell y'all to calm down. But as of right now, let me see if I can find that thing real quick.
Yeah, I'm looking for it
Monmouth
too.
it has moved over to the CAA, yes.
Okay, cool. So to the teams. Okay, I'm pulling up right now because I'm pulling up the rest. So basically, the CAA will have 15 football playing members. So I'm looking at the Northern teams:
Mm-hmm.
Albany, Delaware, Maine, Monmouth, New Hampshire, Rhode Island. I guess. That's. I'm sorry. The Stony Brook doesn't play football, right?
No, they do.
Oh, they do. Okay, so that's 7.
Yeah, so Stony Brook will be the 7th program in the North. So yeah, they'll move over to division starting next year.
Right, got it. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So Villanova's there as well. So that's going to be pretty interesting. That should be one heck of a conference for A&T and Hampton. So, I mean, the whole thing is we just want our schools to be in the best financial situation possible. They can't be an HBCU conference. would love for them to still be in the NBA, but hey, you gotta do what you gotta do. It is what it is.
Yeah.
And speaking of team that should be another team that should be HBCU conference, Tennessee State. We're going to finish out the podcast like with them. There's a lot of we're going to get to the movement around the OVC, how it affects TSU in a moment. But tell me about the job that Eddie George is doing and how he has this program, what the trajectory is for his program right now.
Yeah, Eddie comes in. Well, he came in last year in his first year, in a very condensed year, actually. You know, I think if memory serves me, he was hired in June, and then the season starts in September. So he had very little time to get his staff together. Of course, his offensive coordinator, Hugh Jackson, is now the head man down at Grambling.
Yep.
And then, of course, he had a transfer quarterback. Didn't necessarily have a lot of time to get his players right within camp, but they were still capable of being competitive within that conference. They had their highest win total in years. Last year, I think that number was 6, I want to say. It was either 5 or 6. Once again, I know the FCS and the Tennessee State fans out there are yelling at me. D-Nash, you're supposed to know this. Okay. But with that said, a full off season, you know, less teams within that conference. They're currently picked to finish 4th in that conference. I'm highly intrigued to see what they're capable of doing. And of course, the 3 dogs in front of them, UT Martin, Murray State, and Southeastern Missouri. They actually have to play them in consecutive weeks.
Wow.
At the end of their conference play, leading up to their final game of the year against Texas A&M Commerce. So it's going to be very interesting to see exactly what Tennessee State is going to be able to do within the OVC and whether or not they're going to be able to compete against those 3 powerhouses within the conference to potentially even take them over and see if Eddie George can get better in terms record-wise in year 2.
Yeah, that's good. So, which is a good thing. I know he's been getting on, for lack of a better term, the fan base in terms of the fan support, right? Trying to get more butts in the stands.
Yeah.
You know, he's been very vocal about that. His players seem to love him, and they played hard for him. Not bad for a guy who hasn't coached a day in his life. So I think
he has talent. I will say that.
Yes.
You know, he had 8 guys from his program get named to the preseason all-conference team. You know, your skill players on the offense. So his quarterback, Taylor Ellis, is on that all-conference team. Devon Starling, who shined last year, also on the preseason team. Zaire Thornton, wideout. The offensive lineman, Robert Lacey. I think Lacey is a senior. If so, watch out for him as a potential draft pick. You know, for what they'd love to draft offensive linemen out of Tennessee State. And then you have the 2 big guys in the middle for Tennessee State, T. Ray Jones and Tadarius Patterson. Also, kick returner Dayton Johnson. And then offensive linebacker, I'm sorry, not offensive, outside line for the linebackers of James Green and Kavion Pope are guys to also look out on that defensive side of the ball too.
Yeah, that's interesting. So before we get into more about TSU and asking their prospects in the OVC going forward, in case those of you who fellow gamblers out there who want to wager on not only like college games, but on NFL games as well, since the NFL season is approaching us, we're going to tell you something about BetUS.com. So listen up, sports bettors. Your favorite sports book, BetUS.com, is back for our 28th year of NFL action. With the industry's biggest sign-up bonus of up to 200%, BetUS offers our members the opportunity to cash in on all your favorite sports, including NFL, UFC, and MLB. So if you're looking for live in-game betting, incredible odds with daily odds boosters, props, and parlays, we got it. So how about fast payouts and exceptional one-on-one customer service? Got that too. So along with the betus.com or call 1-800-79-3887. That's 800-79-BET-US. Also use the promo code TKT for the Klown Times. So betus.com for the game begins. So going back to that R word again from earlier, realignment.
Realignment.
So you mentioned earlier, we touched on it, we talked about A&T, the Big South, look like they're like getting like on like being placed on life support because they're losing a lot of teams, including my beloved Aggies next season. And talking about OVC, apparently they've lost some squads. So Tennessee State, well, namely Coach Eddie George, talked about possibly pie in the sky, looking towards the FBS, or at least looking for a safe, secure landing spot for TSU because they think that the OVC is a sinking ship. So what's going on with them? I don't think they're looking to go towards the SWAC. I mean, that would be a great fit. But what are you hearing, or what do you think is going to happen with Tennessee State as all the titanic plates are shifting underneath them in terms of when it comes to realignment?
Well, in case you didn't know, next season the OVC and the Big South, oddly enough, will be merging as a football conference. I guess with a name to be named later.
The big ass conference.
Oh my God.
The BAC.
Yeah,
go ahead. Yeah.
I mean, it won't be that big because I think it's only going to be what 10 teams, 11 teams. So we'll have to wait and see exactly. Well, it's going to be about 11, 12 teams, I think it's going to be. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see the makeup of that conference and who's going to be remaining in that conference at the end of the season because it's a possibility that someone else might jump too. But as it pertains to Tennessee State, of course, Eddie George made it known last year that he wanted to move primarily to an HBCU conference. Hint, hint, SWAC. Yeah. The fan base, Tennessee State, has let it be known that, hey, we want to go to the SWAC.
Nice.
There's been allegations that both sides have thought about making the move. Some say that the door at one point was open and then closed for Tennessee State. There were rumors going around that the SWAC was looking for a 13th program. Hint, hint, Tennessee State. But I don't know. I really don't know who's serious about what as of right now. But Commissioner McClellan has already made it known that as of right now, they're currently happy with the 12 programs that they have.
Sure.
But of course, if I've heard that there are reasons why they probably wouldn't want to take Tennessee State. Someone who's more entrenched in the SWAC will be able to answer that question a lot better than I could. Yeah, this is again, I guess, another wait and see situation with the Tigers to see exactly what their future is going to be. All I know is that everything that's happened in earlier this year with the Southern Heritage Classic and them butting heads with Jackson State might not be in their favor if they're looking to make that move to that conference. But who knows? Money heals all wounds, and
you got that right.
Yeah, and having that Nashville market and that fan base could be beneficial. It probably would be the biggest media market that the SWAC would have if they were to add Nashville, that conference. Yeah, but to add that team to their conference, but it would be interesting to see exactly how that plays out.
Especially if they're thinking about getting the channel. Is that too loud?
Well,
is that going to start some controversy with the HBO Go and everything?
Well, it's not controversy no more, Scott. We had an announcement as of late last week in terms of what's going on with HBCU Go. Says here, I'm reading this from the SWAC.com. HBCU Go, leading media provider of the nation's 107 Black colleges. I gotta read it in the PR voice.
That's the bougie voice that gets me, but go ahead.
Yeah, because I mean it's in there. It's in there. So this is basically
Right.
the press release.
Okay.
They announced their nationwide clearance for their 2022 2023 football season with new carriage deal with CBS owned and operated duopoly stations. So that means key television markets like New York, LA, Philly, Dallas, Atlanta, San Fran, Boston, Seattle, Tampa, Detroit, Miami, and Pittsburgh will air SWAC games on HBCU Go through CBS affiliated networks. So this deal is rather familiar, rather similar. And Scott, you're most definitely familiar with this, being a Tar Heel gentleman, a gentleman from the Tar Heel state, not a Tar Heel per se.
Yeah, about to say, you saw my eyes get bigger. So
yeah, that's why I'm going to make sure I correct that. Being a gentleman from the Tar Heel state, this deal is basically the old Raycom deal, but with the SWAC, or the old Jefferson Pilot deal, but with the SWAC. Jefferson Pilot deal that the SEC and the ACC used to have at one point in time. So now the SWAC now has it, but they're going to be in major media markets through CBS affiliates. So that deal was just announced last week, actually last Friday, if I'm correct. So congratulations to both sides finally inking that deal. I'm waiting to see exactly what the numbers look like with that deal, because I haven't had an opportunity to read everything about that deal as of yet. But in terms of exposure and the cities in which they're going to get exposed, outside of the SWAC footprint, which is going to be wonderful for them, because they'll have an opportunity to have HBCU alums that will be able to watch their games on broadcast television.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And that's a great way to end this podcast. So before I go, please reminder, check out our sponsors, BetUS.com, sports bettors, favorite sports book. BetUS.com is bet for a 20th year of NFL action, live and betting, triple odds with daily odds boosters, props and parlays, fast payouts, and exceptional one-on-one customer service. Got all. So log into BETUS.com. Call 1-800-792-3887. That's 800-79-BET-US. BetUS.com where the game begins. Thanks to you, brother. And by the way, check out this brother's great work. See on the backdrop there, theyardhbcu.com. Not going to remind you what he does on the Yard, that's HBCU Sports. And also check his podcast out on his other podcast out. He's the hardest working man in HBCU athletics media. Sleazy Radio, Tuesday nights, Facebook Live, and YouTube. And last but not least, his great work on herosports.com. Writes about all things FCS as they pertain to HBCU athletics. Please check out the merch at cafepress.com. Search for the Klown Times Sports. Go to my website, theklowntimes.net. I'm going to make some posts. I got previews, college conference previews, and NFL previews. You're going to see some stuff on there soon. I promise. I've been promising y'all I'm going to write some stuff on there the last few weeks, maybe a month and a half. But hey, I don't think I'm going to be busy. I'm going to make some time, give some of my long-awaited previews. So it's all good. So look for it there. The links that I mentioned, Dwayne's links, my links, be in the description when this gets uploaded to YouTube. So it's all there for you to check out. Great work, great content. You'll be glad you did, and we'll be glad you did. And please,
Scott,
yes,
real quick, that running back I was referring to for A&T, the boy's name is Charlie Dixon. Okay. 6'2", 235, redshirt freshman out of Georgia.
Nice.
So look for him to potentially get a lot of burn this year at the running back spot.
There you go.
I had to put that in there because I know the Aggies are cutting me out right now.
No.
Charlie Dixon is the boy's name.
Remember that name, Aggie Nation. Remember that name. I'm sure those in know will remember that name. And Cameron will too, but that's another shade for the day. But anyway, yes. So please give a like, comment, share, subscribe to this podcast. Great stuff out there. Again, if you liked it or didn't like it, feel free to comment. We're not judgmental. We'll comment along with you. It'll be all fun, we promise you. Anyway, take care. Have a good week, rest of the week, great weekend, all that good stuff. I'm not talking to you again. Peace out.